Peace, peace. This is Eddie Leonard on the check-in. I wanted to really quickly discuss the new gear break-in period, which is something that anyone in this world, this small little world of, you know, music production, sample-based music production, groove boxes, synths, they know there's always new products out. There's always new models of products. You know, this is like the era of the MK2. You know, so everything that comes out, there's a Mark II, a Mark III. You know, in the camera world, I remember when the Canon 5D came out, and it took the world by storm. And then the Canon D Mark II came out, and the Mark III, and everybody was just like, ah. And then the used market is flooded with all the old ones that last year were fine, but this year are no longer any good. And I just think it's funny because when you live long enough to see some of the cycles, you realize that planned obsolescence is like a real thing. And sometimes it's really good to just sit back, take a look at the gear you have, appreciate it for what it is, and even ask yourself, have you used all the features that it offers? Or are you just so caught up in the new buttons and the new knobs and the new feature sets that you probably don't even use in the new models? And I bring this up because this came from a conversation I had with my man DJ Reason, because he saved up a good chunk of his savings to get the Ableton Push 2. I'm not familiar with the device. I know a lot of people have been talking about it, and the reason they're talking about it is because as soon as he bought it, the next day, the Push 3 dropped. And he was just like, yo, you know, I did all this work, all this research, and then y'all going to have a new version with all these new features. And so he was pissed, but then he kind of, you know, he's like my age. He basically sat back and was like, but I researched this for months. This is exactly the product I wanted. It fits his work setup, his flow, you know, with Ableton and everything. It allows him to do everything he's ever wanted to do. So he's like, I don't actually need the Push 3. And I think that's the lesson, you know, in it for me. It's just to appreciate what you have instead of just lusting over what, you know, you think you want, you know, because there are a lot of times these extra bells and whistles are not really necessary, and they don't necessarily make you better at producing or composing, you know? And so, like, for me, going back to the original, you know, topic, I had this MPC for about 10 years. And there are still things that I continue to learn about it. You know, I just recently, someone posted a video manual, an online video manual of the 3000, which is an old machine. It's like 92 or 95 or something like that. And I just learned that it has like 2 effects, you know, which I never use, but it has 2 reverbs on there. They're not very good, but it's just kind of interesting that you can go in there and actually send one effect to another. So you have reverbs in there. There's all these little quirks that I just didn't quite understand. I never used the, you know, the note assign volume slide, whatever. I don't know. I guess the point is we all have pieces of equipment. We learn what we need to learn so that we can get up and running up to a certain point. And beyond that point, everything else is just like extra, you know? And so we have these manuals. I got a big stack of manuals over there. I haven't read them cover to cover, you know? I skim through the quick start guide, get it going, and I start making music. My thing is, before you go and sell it, you know, 2-3 months after you get it, saying it's not enough or I need the new features, sometimes it's nice to go back into the manual, rediscover what the groove box or synth or whatever has to offer and sort of give it new life. You know what I'm saying? It's all about knowledge and information and technical skill and ability. So it's like a guitar. If you playing guitar, you might know all the scales, you might know your chords, you might know whatever. It's like learn a different genre, pick up a new skill. Like you can still advance. There's levels to it, you know? And I think before we go rushing to get the new model of this or that, I think perfecting the model that you have is probably the ideal. And some of the best musicians I know and producers that I know, those are the ones that do that. Like my boy Jay, Asonic, you know, or Voila, you know, his new project is kind of crazy. It's like, it's just dope, the sounds that he's combining. And he's using the MPC Live, MPC Live 1. And I've seen him on it, you know, the screen and all the mixing and the effects and all this stuff. And I was just like, this machine is sick. And I was like, yo, have you thought about the 2? And I just said that as a conversation piece. Like, I heard the MPC Live 2 was pretty good. You know, had a built-in speaker and a couple new things. And he was like, yo, honestly, I know it's kind of beefed up and they did whatever, but he's like, the one does exactly what I need it to do. And that's all I needed to hear, you know? So I would just say, you know, if you get caught up in the whole gear acquisition syndrome and getting this and that, my piece of advice to you, you know, not that I'm here like some super producer, like, you know, who has, you know, wisdom to offer, but I will say, like, my piece of advice, close your eyes, look in your studio and imagine that you had none of it. Like, imagine you just started with a clean slate, right? And then open your eyes and realize that you have all of this gear in front of you, and think about how much you use it, how much you know about it, how much you actually engage with it, and whether or not it's enough to do what you think you need to do, you know? Because I really do believe that, and many people have said this, there's no piece of equipment that's holding you back from doing the thing that you need to do. It's all you. It's all on you. So in terms of the gear acquisition syndrome and in terms of like the new gear break-in period, for me, it's at least 6 months. After that, I know, you know what I'm saying? I know if I'm keeping something or I'm selling it, or if I need to learn more about it so that I can really, like, you know, flip it. I've had the Yamaha, the SU700 for about 6 months, and I love the effects, but I know that I need to take it to another level and learn the sequencer. You know, that's just what I know, and I have to put in the work to make it, you know, worthwhile. Otherwise, it's just going to sit here collecting dust, or I'm going to be stuck in the same cycle of doing the same exact tricks that I use, and it's going to be a one-trick pony. So how long does it take for you to know whether a piece of gear is going to stay in your arsenal? Is it a couple months? Is it 6 months? Is it like years? And yeah, I'm just curious what y'all thoughts are.